Hey guys, welcome to another video. If you've seen any of my previous videos, you know one of my favorite things to do is try out new styles of art. So lately I've been playing with resin, and in today's video I'm going to be making a box using a resin mold. I do want to start off with a really quick safety warning. Since we're using hazardous chemicals, it's really important that you wear gloves and you either have a ventilator or you're working in a really well ventilated area. This is actually very important. With that taken care of, we can go ahead and get started. So when you get your resin, it's going to come in two bottles. One is the resin and one is the hardener. You're going to mix these together half and half. You can measure them in these cups like these, or you can use a scale. It's just important that you're very exact. Once you've got it mixed together very thoroughly, you can add stuff in at this point. You can add mica powder to give it a color. You can add glitter, any different kind, chunky glitter. You can add foils like gold foil. I'm actually going to be adding a silver foil on my first layer of the box, but small things like that or colors you can actually mix in, and larger things that you want to place in a certain spot like a pressed flower, you're going to place into the mold after you pour the resin in. Here is the main part of the box mold that I'm doing. There's also a lid. This box is upside down, so you have to remember that everything you put in there is going to come out the other way. So even though I'm pouring this on the bottom, it's going to be at the top of the box once we take it out. You can also see there's a wooden brace around the outside. That is to help it keep its shape because it's pretty flimsy, since we need to be able to turn it inside out when we take the mold out. For the first layer of the box, I just want it to be about an inch of this clear resin and silver foil. So once I've poured in what I want, I take the heat gun to it, which helps bring the bubbles to the surface and pop them so they're not trapped in the resin. Then I'm going to set it aside. It takes 24 hours to fully harden, but you can probably get away with about 12 if you're just going to add another layer. So the next day, I've already got my resin mixed up. Now I'm going to add in some mica powder. I've got blue and white, and I'm going to do a couple different shades of blue just to give it a little shift. I think it adds a little something extra when you add a bunch of different colors in there. I'm doing this shade because it kind of reminds me of winter, and I'm doing a snowflake theme box. The snowflakes are actually blue and white. I'm also going to add some chunky glitter because I think it looks like snow. It gives that effect, and who doesn't love some glitter? Once you've got your resin all mixed up, you can go ahead and pour it into your mold. You can see it's a little bit transparent. I wanted it to be transparent enough that you could see the snowflakes I was going to add, but also opaque enough that the blue and white mica powder definitely showed up. If you wanted it to be solid, you would just add more mica powder. Once I poured the resin in, you saw I used the heat gun again to bring the bubbles to the surface, and then I let it sit for about 5 to 10 minutes just to harden a little bit so that the snowflakes would stay exactly where I put them, because I know they tend to float. The longer you let it sit, the harder it gets. You don't want to wait too long, otherwise it's going to be hard to work with. But you can see it's a little bit stickier and a little less liquid since I let it sit for a little. Once I thought the resin was ready to go, I went ahead and started adding my snowflakes. I have blue snowflakes and white snowflakes in large and small, and I kind of started placing them randomly throughout. I had to really keep track of what I was doing because once I pushed them down into the resin, I couldn't really see where they went. So this part was very time consuming, but in the end, the snowflakes were the best, most important part of the box, so I made sure that I covered the entire box evenly. While I was working on the box, I was also working on the lid. So the leftover from the first layer, I poured to make the bottom of the lid, and even though this clip is a little deceiving, it looks like I poured them back to back. It was actually the 12 hours apart, just like the box, and I used the leftover of the blue resin to do the top of the lid. The lid is actually not upside down like the box, though the part we're looking at is going to be the part we're seeing. This made it a lot easier to do since I could see exactly where the snowflakes were and how it was going to look. After I placed them all where I want them to be, I pushed them underneath the surface so that it would be completely smooth along the top, and also it would match the snowflakes that were going to be on the bottom of the box. This was the last step, so once I was done, my resin was ready to cure. I put both the molds in a room that was between 75 and 85 degrees. This is very important when you're working with chemicals, the same as the measuring. You want to be exact so that everything hardens correctly. Then 24 hours later, you are finally ready for the best part, and that is demolding. With some molds like this box mold, you can't exactly see how it's turning out along the way, so it's definitely really exciting getting to finally take it out after days of work. I didn't know if the holographic snowflakes would show up through that blue resin, but they definitely did, even better than I thought, and the chunky glitter and silver foil all looked great. I really love that shade of blue, so I'm extremely happy with my cute little winter box. It actually looks even better in person than it does on camera, so I'm going to put up a couple photos so you can see what it looks like. I really hope you guys liked this. If you did, give it a like. Don't forget to subscribe so you can see what I make next.